My name's Jason, longtime worker at Meridian, and today I'll be showing you how we mow lawns and the simple steps that we use to do lawn care. So you have to mow a lawn. So you want to go to the trailer or truck and go get the lawnmower. This is our average typical push mower that we use. Probably the 80% of the mowers that we own is this guy right here, the simple Honda. It's a 4-stroke engine, which means you use straight gas, which is marked on the gas can here, S for straight. Check and see if it's empty or not. So the first thing you want to do is fill it. In this case, the mower needs gas. So I'll fill it, preferably if you can, fill it on the trailer, just in case you have a spill, you don't stay in the road, or if you're in a more rural area, you don't end up staining the grass. And then what you want to do is probably grab yourself a few tarps, depending on how long the grass is and how big of a mow. For this case, I'm just going to grab one for demonstration purposes. Not to get ahead of myself, if the grass is short enough, you might be able to mulch, which I'll show you in a second on the lawnmower, where you don't actually need tarps. But it's always good to actually have a tarp on you just in case, because even when you're mulching, you might hit really long grass and have to bag. And then you don't have to walk all the way back to the truck, which is really inefficient. And a nice trick I like to do is hold up your tarp kind of nice and tight, especially if it's a windy day and you have your tarps all over the place that might blow away. It's kind of nice just to get it kind of compact, and you can stuff it in here. So you don't have to carry it around with you, you don't have to go get it. It's with you until you need it. Okay, so we're at the lawn. Now before you start your mower, it should be deadened, which means the spark plug's disengaged and the gas line should be turned off. This is how you know the gas line's turned off. It's turned up. This is so in storage, handling, if I have to clean the mower out before I use it. So you want it off in case you don't flood the filter, which is here. And you kind of always want to lift it this way with the gas line up and away. So the gas line is on, the spark plug is in, which now means the mower is live. Because with the spark plug disengaged, you're completely safe. The mower cannot start. So you just want to make sure that's attached nice and tight. And now we're good to mow. Okay, now one thing you want to check for, this is a good example, is obstructions on the lawn before you mow. Like obviously you don't want to mow up garbage, rocks that are too big that you can see. You want to look for irrigation heads. Sometimes you'll get like a little pop-up head and it might still be up. There's a perfect example right here. So what I like to do is I usually just push them down with my foot, gently, because you don't want to break them. Also, you might want to look out for green caps or irrigation boxes, which are green plastic caps and boxes within the lawns, kind of scattered. Okay, so now we're good to go. So the first thing you want to check is your height adjustments. Make sure your wheels are set properly. Now normally, depending on the lawn, or your average lawn at Meridian, you're going to mow on 3-3. That's our standard mowing height. That means every wheel is set to 3 rungs. For example, this is on 4, so you want to dial it back, 1, 2, 3. And if you're ever unsure, basically 4 is up. Like if I go up to, that means it's going to be higher. So 3, for example, that's 1 and it's way too low. Because some mowers are different. Not the Hondas, but some different commercial mowers do go up and down in different ways. So you always want to make sure. Same at the back. Oh, one thing to notice too is I'm going to be bagging for this video. The grass is very long, as you can see. Therefore, it's going to go into this bag, and when this bag fills, I'm going to empty it into this tarp. But say the grass is a bit shorter, and especially on a dry day, you might have the option to mulch. And all that means is you're closing off the chute, and you have a selector switch called the clip director on these Hondas, and you just basically click it to mulch. Make sure it sits in there. Sometimes they don't sit, and it kind of gets loose. So if you're mulching, the grass has nowhere to go. So as I'm mowing, it's cutting, and it's cutting it so fine, it just falls back into the lawn like in in like particles, tiny particles that you don't see. So which is very nice because then you don't have to bag the grass, you don't have to make tarps. It's more efficient and it's actually good for the lawn. But in this case, I'm going to be mowing and bagging, which is what you're probably going to be doing most of the time. Because most of our lawns are fertilized and they're very long, they're irrigated, and for cleanliness. Because if you're mulching sometimes and you start getting like chunks of grass that are sticking to the wheels, shooting out, you don't want that. You want a nice, clean, even lawn. Make sure it's on bag, because sometimes you might get the lawnmower and it might actually be on mulch. So in this case, it's on bag. I'm on 3.3. I'm gassed up, and I'm good to go. Now the beauty of these lawnmowers is they're really simple to use. They only have one blade control. This is your dead man lever. Basically, if I let go of that, no matter what, the mower is going to stop. So to start it, this has to be engaged. And then you're going to pull. So one pull should get her going. Okay, so one thing you never forget when you're about to mow is your hearing protection. So we're ready to mow. So depending on the type of lawn that you're mowing, like the size, the thickness, whatever, you're going to decide how you're going to want to mow it. In this case, it's a bit of an odd size. What a good thing to do is make a border first to hide your turns and just make it easy for you. So I'm going to start with a border mow. So another reason that we make the border is when you're mowing, as you watched me, it enables the mower doesn't have to leave the lawn area when I make my turns. For example, when I come back on my line, if I haven't made that border there on the edge, to get a full mow, I'd have to come off and make my turn, which is really inefficient. And also, it can shoot grass, you can stain concrete. This might be in a very high-end area that you don't want to run the wheels over, especially if it's raining or the grass is very thick. You can stain concrete with grass, not usually permanently, but it can make a real mess, which is going to lead to a bad time for you and a lot of blowing. So basically the border allows you to keep the lawnmower completely on the grass at all times, unless you're moving between lawn areas. Okay, so we've done our border. Just something to note, if you notice it wasn't a perfect box border, which you normally will be doing. In situations like that where the mower can't go, the trimmer will get that area. So you've got everything in here is my box that I'm going to mow. And the next thing I want to do is decide how I'm going to mow it. Like, am I going to mow it this way? Am I going to mow it that way? You can even mow it diagonally. One thing you might want to think about is if you can tell on the lawn, if you keep mowing a lawn the same way, you'll get ruts and it starts to look kind of terrible. And you can see the way it's been mowed every week. So if you can tell, for example, that it was mowed lengthways last week, try to mow it the other way, if efficient. Sometimes a lawn is long and skinny and you can only mow it one way. It'd be almost silly to do 1,000 turns. You'd want to go lengthwise. But if you can, change up the way you mow, just so you don't rut the lawn. So you'll notice on my lines, I've kept it wheel and wheel on every turn, so it's pretty symmetrical and even. Not the best example here. It's a bit of an odd lawn, a bit lumpy. But normally you want to try to get straight lines if possible. But you also don't want to go too slow. Try to keep it efficient. So we've got our nice crisp clear lines. Now what you might want to do just a minute or two after you started mowing, take a look at what you've mowed. For example, is it short enough? Is it too short? In this case, it's probably perfect. I mean, like I said, this isn't the most flat piece of lawn, and it's got a lot of lawn weights too, which is sometimes out of your control. If you notice that it's too short, here's a good example. You almost see a browning. It's almost like any shorter, you're going to rip the grass up. It's what we call scalping. This is slightly too short. In this case, you would just raise the wheel up, I'd say one setting. If it's too short, go up. If it's too long, go down. And I've started at just one setting intervals. Okay, so now that our mow is finished, the next step is to deal with the grass that we've just mowed up. So you got your handy tarp here. It's best to do it on the lawn, just in case it's wet or the bag's overflowing or It just saves you blowing more than if you do it on a rough surface, and plus you could stain the concrete with wet grass, especially if it's very white or flush sidewalk, kind of like that. The bag just comes off like that. Just going to dump that back in your tarp, attach the bag. And here's a quick little lesson for you that's good for you to know if you're working at Meridian, is that most of our debris, not just grass, but anything you're doing, picking weeds, raking up leaves, unless you have a dump truck, which you only have a few of, you're going to be primarily working with tarps. So when you make a tarp, what you want to do is, kind of like a diaper, you want to make a slip knot like that, and then just kind of cinch it through. You don't have to make double knots unless it's a very large tarp. If it's just a small tarp like this, a simple slip knot will do, cinch, you're good to go. And try and keep an eye on the weight. You don't want it to be too heavy, because at the end of the day, other workers have to empty these tarps and lift them, so you want to keep them at a reasonable weight. Because one heavy tarp's one thing, but 50 can be a real problem for the back. If we're done lawn care for the day, first we're going to deaden the mower again. So the gas was on for the mow. We're going to turn the gas line back off for storing, just so it doesn't flood. And we're going to pull the spark plug out. So the mower is now deadened. It cannot start, even with kinetic motion. The next thing you want to do is clean the mower out. You only do this if you don't need to do it between sites, unless it's a particularly messy day and you're mowing in a very high-end area. But primarily, we wait to the end of the day when the mower is done for the day and it's going back in the truck and it's going back to the shop. We'll then clean the mower. So it's dead end. Now you want to always lift from the side where the gas line is. Here's your filter, so you can always lift away. You don't have to lift it that high. I mean, if you want, you could flip it right outside, but it's kind of unnecessary. And then you're going to clean the mower out. In this case, it's not very dirty. It was a dry day. But if it's a wet day and the grass is long, let me tell you, this will be caked and just full of crap like this. So basically, you just want to give it a quick hand clean, wash the blades, move them gently. You want to clean around the deck. Basically, get as much clump of the grass as you can get, especially in the chute. Good to go.